So, live once again. Good evening, folks, and welcome to Friday Night Tech Talk. If it's your first time here, there's my phone doing what it always does. If it's your first time here, welcome. And I do this every Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And wherever you are in the world, I hope you've had a good week and a good day. I have. So the only one I see in the comments so far is Eleanor. Glad to have you here. She says her usual good evening. So hopefully we'll have a few more people joining us soon. I was kind of hoping Renz would be here because he was excited to see my latest. Yes, Eleanor's first because she has to go to. She's got to work tomorrow. So, I guess I'll wait a minute or two to see if Ren shows up. He's probably on his way to work, and sometimes he gets stuck in traffic. He's over in the Philippines. So, maybe I'll hold off on showing off my latest acquisition for a few minutes and hope that he comes in. It looks like we've got 4 people at least looking on my YouTube app. Looks like there's 4 people in it. Say hello, folks. Don't be shy. Well, I guess I'm excited enough. This just showed up today. Samsung Galaxy S22 Plus. So I just got it set up a few minutes ago. Still charging it, actually. It's charged pretty good right now, but I ended up getting the sky blue. I hope you can see that. And it's nice and thin. I don't have a case for it yet, so I'm going to have to be real careful with it for a few days. And I think all the apps have downloaded. Yeah, it looks like it. So that's what the front looks like, but you've seen that on any phone that I've showed you. I always set up my phones, all of my phones the same way, but it feels thinner than I thought it would feel. Of course, that'll change once I put a case on it, and I put a case on everything. But so I'm excited, and I'm hoping to at least take it out and get a few pictures and a little video this weekend. But we were up to 68 today, and tomorrow morning we're supposed to have snow. Yo, Steve is in here. Glad to see you. So we've got Steve. Steve is over in England. And once Renz gets here, I'll have a nice balance as far as parts of the world. Glad you could make it, Steve. I don't know if you got in time. I got S22, Galaxy S22 Plus today. Just set it up a few minutes ago. There it is in sky blue. And Steve, I hope your mom's doing well. I've been keeping her in prayer, so that's good. And I haven't seen you post anything since she got better, so hopefully that means she's doing well. So Renz was the one that was excited for me to get the S22. I was hoping he'd be in here. I'm doing real well, Steve. Hope you're doing well too. Let's see. Well, I guess I'll start. Okay. See, Steve says Nice choice. Looking forward to your videos on this. Yeah, and I was saying I was hoping to do some pictures and videos this weekend, but we went from 68 today to snow tomorrow morning. At least it seems like it's going to snow. I'm thinking it might be a mix of snow and rain. And hopefully Ellen will stay safe going to work because she lives up on a high hill just like I do here. But if I can get out and take a few pictures and a little video, just to give you some samples of what this thing does, I'll be showing it to you. And then, of course, in the coming weeks, I'll be comparing it, doing some camera comparisons. Got the case on, but that's the Pixel 6 Pro. But I'm probably going to start off. My first comparison will be with the upside down, with the Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra, because that still has one of the greatest cameras around. And I'll also be comparing it with the Z Flip. And then I'll be comparing it with the iPhone 12 Pro. After that, we'll see what the comparisons will be like. But so that'll take a few weeks to get those done. Let's see, what is Elma saying? Oh, Elma saying, well, you know, if it's a Samsung and you'll ever get tired of it, you know who would take it off your hands. That's very true. Eleanor loves her Samsung phones. Right now, she's got a Pixel 6. And yeah, as a little time goes on, I now have 3 Samsung phones, so you'll end up getting one of them, Eleanor. Let's see. Steve says, Mom is doing good things out of the hospital and doing well. Very good. Prayers are being, I love answered prayer, that's for sure. All right, so I guess I might as well go ahead and start with the first story. And when some others get in here, I'll show off that S22 Plus again, I guess. Anyway, so to any of you who don't know, let me give you where you can follow the show notes. So let me get this out of the way. I want to share my screen. I do this every week for anybody who doesn't know. So you can find the show notes at mobilegeezer.wordpress.com. Click on the very first story, and that'll be this week's show notes, as you can see today's date. So if you want to go there, you can follow along with the stories as I go through them. So let me get this back. Okay. And back to the comments. So I'm going to go to the first story, and I'm just doing a review of what happened at the Apple event this week, because that was the big deal this week. So let me get a little bigger. And this was on Tom's Guide, and this was from a couple of days ago. And it was written by Mark Spoonhour. Yeah. So Apple March event recap, iPhone SE3, Mac Studio, iPad Air 5, and more. All the big Apple event product announcements. So let me put this in reader view, see if we can get rid of some of those ads. Okay, Apple product launches are rarely low-key, and the Apple March 8th peak performance event launched a lot of new products on Tuesday. The iPhone SE3 has been announced with an A15 Bionic Power 5G and several camera upgrades. And there's a new iPad Air 5 with M1 mic. For power users, Apple has announced the new Mac Studio, which I can afford that, computer with a blazing M1 Ultra chip that basically gives you 2 chips in one. And there's a new Apple Studio display with 5K resolution and a lower price than the Pro XDR, although it's still pricey. Yeah, you can say that again. I think it's $1,600. Though the event is now over, there's still plenty of news dripping out about the new products, so keep this page bookmarked, blah, blah, blah. So the announcements: iPhone SE3. SE3 2022 features the same A15 Bionic chip found in the iPhone 13 lineup and adds 5G connectivity. Ceramic shield front and back. Cost is $429, and it went up a little bit, but of course it is upgraded, even though there's no night mode. But there's also a couple of surprise iPhone SE drawbacks. I think the night mode is the big one. iPad Air 5. The iPad Air is getting Apple's M1 chip for much better performance, along with 5G connectivity, and it supports the Magic Keyboard, which I love, starting at $599. Mac Studio. Think of the Mac Studio as a supercharged Mac Mini with an M1 Max chip, or even more powerful new M1 Ultra chip, offering 3.8 times more power than the iMac 27-inch. Starts at $1,999. That's why I won't be getting one. And the Apple Studio Display. There's a new Apple Studio Display. It's a 27-inch panel with 5K resolution and 600 nits of brightness, plus a 12-megapixel camera and powerful speaker system. Starts at, as I said, $1,600. I was right. And Don is in here. Glad to have you, Don. I just sold Don an A52 5G. He is loving it. So it's the second phone he's bought from me, and he's loved them both. So I guess I'm doing okay so far. Glad you're here, Don. Apple M1 Ultra chip. This new super chip packs a 20-core, and this is heavy duty, packs a 20-core CPU, 64-core GPU, and 32-core neural engine. Now, that's a lot of power. And there's up to 128 gigabytes of unified memory. The chip will be an option in the Mac Studio for $3,999, so $4,000. Configuration and the first Apple M1 Ultra benchmark show off awesome power for this beefy new slice of Apple silicon. I guess it would be. Also, quietly, Apple killed a 27-inch iMac, making the Studio Display the only 27-inch panel in Apple's lineup. So, a new, more powerful Mac Mini 2022 was one of the devices rumored to be revealed by Apple on Tuesday, but obviously that didn't come to pass. However, it now seems a Mac Mini 2022 could still be coming this year, and with a big upgrade. That's according to 9 to 5 Mac, whose sources have told it that Apple has two new Mac Minis in the works. One will apparently use the rumored Apple M2 chip, while the other will get an M2 Pro chip. We'll watch this one with interest. Apple doesn't typically reveal how much RAM is in its phones, but of course that doesn't stop people from trying to find out. That's exactly what happened with the new iPhone SE 2022. And it seems there's good news on that front. According to research performed by Mac Rumors and Mac OS developer Moritz Sternman, the new phone has 4 gigabytes of RAM. If true, that's a boost over 3 gigabytes in the iPhone SE 2020, and effectively means the iPhone SE 2022 has a hidden upgrade. In fact, it would bring it in line with the iPhone 13 range, which can only be good news for its performance. I totally agree with that. There's a lot to like about the new iPad Air 2022, not the least extra power that the addition of the M1 chip will bring. However, Tom's Guide writer Richard Prudet decided not to pre-order one right at the checkout stage because he feels the new iPad Air is missing one crucial upgrade. The iPhone SE 2022 is an obvious contender for best cheap phone title, despite being slightly more expensive than the last model. That's true. But there's another sub-500 iPhone that might be an even better purchase, and that's the iPhone 11. I would agree with that too. I had the iPhone 11. The iPhone 11 has several advantages over the iPhone SE 2022, including a bigger screen and better cameras. So here's Global Editor-in-Chief Mark Spooner's take on why the best cheap iPhone isn't the new iPhone SE. And if you go into the notes, you can click on that. And the M1 Ultra chip, this was a very big deal. I've got a story coming up just about this chip. The first Apple M1 Ultra benchmarks results are in, and they look very, very impressive. Apple's new super chip, which will power the Mac Studio, achieved a Geekbench 5 score of 1793 for single core and 24055 for multi-core. This beats even the mighty AMD Threadripper 3990X. Apple even claims that the M1 Ultra's GPU can beat the NVIDIA RTX 3090, and that's a lot of power, a whole lot of power. Okay, it's a recap, blah, blah, blah. If you're looking to buy the new iPhone SE 2022, there are some good deals already available. Check out our guide on how to pre-order, and you'll see that there are some decent discounts. For example, AT&T will have the iPhone SE for $11 per month, with trade-in for 36 months, which comes out to $396. That's better than $429, that's for sure. And here's Ren's. Sorry, I went to a furniture store, a career store. I just thought you got caught in traffic, but I'm glad you're here, brother. So let me finish this story, and I'll show you what I know you're looking to see. Don's saying they've got snow here. That's down in Oklahoma. So, and Eleanor's saying, yeah, we might get, we're supposed to get snow, some kind of snow tomorrow morning. Hopefully not much. So, let's go down here. As part of its Mac Studio and Apple Studio display announcement, Apple has announced that it's releasing a new black version of its Magic Mouse. That's nice to get a new color, but it features the same old design from 2015, which means you can't use the mouse while it's charging via the bottom-mounted lightning port. Boo. The iPad Air 5 may look a lot like the iPad Air 4, but it's what's inside that counts, right? On that front, at least, Apple's new M1 chip-equipped tablet has a major advantage over the 2020 model, but how do they compare otherwise? We've broken down the key differences. You can always go click on that if you go to the story. You know what sucks? No night mode on the iPhone SE 2022. Totally agree with that. And managing editor Roland Moore Collier thinks that's ridiculous. So do I. It boggles our mind a bit, as the new iPhone SE has the power of an A15 Bionic, yet Apple seems not to have given it the scope to use the chip's powerful AI processing to deliver at least a functional night mode. Couldn't agree more. If we're being cynical, we'd suggest it may be a way to nudge people over to buy the iPhone 13 mini, but I agree with them. I'd go out and buy the iPhone 11. That's not to say the iPhone SE 2022 isn't any good, but it may lose out to the likes of the Google Pixel 5a, which, as always, I have right here. So I still have my Pixel 5a to go along with my Pixel 6 Pro. We didn't get a new MacBook Air 2022 in yesterday's Apple event, so presumably one is coming later this year, instead October maybe. Unfortunately, it now seems like even when we do get one, it will have the rumored new Apple M2 chip inside it. That's according to analyst Ming-Chi Kuo, who strongly believes that the MacBook Air redesign will feature the original Apple Silicon chip, i.e. the M1. And this guy is usually right. That would be bad news if true, and also quite surprising given that we recently saw reports that Apple is already testing the M2. There's lots to like about the new iPhone SE 2022, but that doesn't mean Apple's not going to have the power. For all the good points about the phone, there are a few strange omissions that could have you thinking twice about your choice. So they've rounded up reasons to buy or skip. If Apple's iPad Air 5 presentation has you champing at the bit to get one of the new tablets, we regret to inform you you must wait a few days for pre-orders to begin. Apple doesn't start taking pre-orders until, guess what, today, March 11th. Tablets themselves don't go on sale until March 18th. So if you're looking for an iPad Air 5, you can order it now. However, we can give you iPad Air 5 pre-order information that includes the early word on what kind of iPad Air deals you can expect for these new tablets. Pardon me, folks. I'm having a little problem that I get every once in a while. This I can fix right away, I believe. Just has to reset that screen. Does that every once in a while. I have no idea why. Okay. Okay, now we're back. Okay. We've published a deeper dive on the Apple Studio display, which gives you a lot to like for its fairly reasonable $1,600 price. Okay, they think that's reasonable. It's a beautiful thing and it does a lot and it has great speakers. So maybe they're right. Maybe it's worth it. While the $999 Pro Display XUR gives you a brighter display of up to 1,600 nits and a bigger 32-inch panel, the Apple Studio display's 27-inch side and 5K resolution should be enough for most users, I would think, and the 600 nits of brightness is solid. Plus, the Apple Studio display gives you an A13 Bionic processor for delivering features like center stage through the 12-megapixel camera. Center stage is the camera kind of follows you around. And you get 3 mics along with a powerful speaker system. So far, we've talked a lot about the products Apple did show off today, but what about those rumored things that didn't make the cut? We've got a list of the top rumored Apple product announcements that didn't happen at peak performance. Now the question is, when will things like MacBook Pro updates, the AirPods Pro 2, and the long-rumored Apple VR AR headsets show up? That's true. Hey, Juan's in here. Glad to have you, Juan. The Magic Mouse design is still hilariously bad. Well, I'm glad that's the one thing Apple that I don't have to go along with my iPad Pro or my Magic Keyboard. So, Shaw FinTech is in here. Glad to have you, brother. He's saying hello to everybody. So that's pretty much everything from the Apple event. So I just thought I should start with that since that was the big deal event this week. So let me come back. Renz, I hope you're still here because I know you were excited for me to get this today, and I did get it. My Galaxy S22 Plus, and I got it in sky blue. And there it is. I just set it up just before I went live, and that's what it looks like. It's thinner than I thought it would be. And of course, my front screen always looks the same because I always set them up the same. But so I haven't even had it long enough to decide if I really like it, but I'm sure I will. But as I said, I'll be doing comparisons with the Pixel 6 Pro, with the Galaxy S21 Ultra, with the Z Flip, and with the iPhone 12 Pro. So if I can get out in the snow this weekend or get around the snow this weekend, I'll start taking some pictures and shoot a little video. So I just wanted to let you guys know that I had that. And now we're past our first story. Now I threw this story in because to me, it was a big deal. Those of you who know The Verge probably agree with me. So I'm going to bring that one up. I'm going to share the screen. This is a long article, so I'm not going to read it all, but I just thought he deserves some recognition. So Dieter Bohn is leaving The Verge. And keep in mind, he's one of the founding guys from The Verge. And for 10 years, he's been one of the top editors. But I just thought it was a big deal that he's leaving The Verge. He's actually going to work for Google, which you'll see in this article. But I just thought it was a big deal enough to include it as the second story. So here's what he wrote on March 4th, or last week he wrote this article. 10 years after we found it, The Verge continues to be the best place to discover the import and impact of technology's place in our culture. But after today, the team will be doing that without me. I bet you probably have known him a while because you tend to go to the same big events that he goes to. All right, I'm going to drop it into read of you. Okay. After 20 years in media, I've decided it's time to do something new. If you've been a Vergecast listener, which I am, you know that disclosure is our brand, so here's mine. I'm headed to Google to work on the platforms and ecosystems team. I'm excited to help shape the future of software platforms like Android and Chrome and continue to work at the nexus of technology and culture, just in a different way. And even fuller disclosure, even as you read these words, I am out of The Verge's newsroom. I have not been involved in editorial decisions for some time. But before I go and before I say a woefully incomplete set of thank yous, I want to reflect on 20 years, on those 20 years just for a minute. And I also put this in because I thought it was an excellently written article. We found The Verge with some grand ideas about how to do technology journalism differently. We started with the thesis that technology, especially consumer technology, creates culture. It seemed like a very big idea at the time, but it has turned out to be bigger than even we could have imagined. Now, a decade on, The Verge does a better job than anyone at looking at the ways technology shapes culture and is in turn shaped by culture. An insight that once felt revelatory is now almost universally accepted. Our coverage has expanded to policy, science, climate, transportation, creators, games, movies, and more, all of which are changing even more quickly and evolving fractally under the influence of tech. That evolution has been electrifying and increasingly often terrifying. It's true. To say technology has changed us in fundamental ways, not just the way we communicate, but the way we think and what we are, feels both deeply radical and deeply boringly obvious. I feel that dichotomy quite keenly because I was the person 25 years ago practically grabbing random people in the hallway and saying, look at this will change you. I distinctly remember pulling a professor aside and showing them my handspring visor PDA. It wasn't just a planner, I said. It was also an entertainment device with music, a camera, a research device. I created a tiny app for tracking my studies and adding marginalia to digitally scanned quotes. That professor found it interesting, but didn't think it was important. And the thing is, they weren't necessarily wrong. I couldn't prove it would be important. Well, he turned out to be right. One thing that's difficult to remember today is that being gadget obsessed was once weird. Yeah, now we're all gadget obsessed. It was a thing I had to defend more often than apologize for. I used to have to give a little speech defending the idea of fandom for gadgets or pop culture that now seems quaint at best. I would say if you're not a nerd about something, you don't care about anything. I was and am a nerd for gadgets and for consumer technology. I think just about all of us here are that. I think it matters. Though a great majority of people rightly don't care about the incremental improvements in smartphone technology year over year, those improvements aggregate into a major impact over time. Very true. I think our discourse about gadgets is still nascent even this far into the smartphone revolution. I totally agree. Technology itself is culture. In a phone or laptop or an algorithmic feed is in itself a cultural object just as worthy as analysis, critique, and serious attention as any piece of artwork or fashion trend. I agree. I'll bet you Juan agrees with that too. This is why I prefer the term instrument over tool as a metaphor for most technology. Both are useful metaphors, but instrument has connotations about creation and precision that tool lacks. And most importantly, it suggests that we have a relationship to the objects we use to create personal expression, to create culture. That's true. We will have very personal relationship with our devices, especially our phones. This idea is so deeply embedded in the philosophy of reviews at The Verge that it's difficult to see, and to a casual reader, perhaps indistinguishable from a bare speeds and feeds kind of review. A simpler way to think of it is that we always take the things themselves seriously, living in the strange straits between just another phone and vital instrument our readers will never be more than a few feet away from and use hundreds of times a day to live their lives. If that kind of object isn't worth taking seriously, what is? Totally agree. Even as I write this, I find it strange. These are insights that were once important because nobody knew what was coming. Now I think these insights are important because we're living so completely within the world tech has wrought that it's hard to see them. I'm a fish talking about the water. That's a really good one. A lot of my favorite moments at The Verge happened at CES, the bacchanalia of consumer tech and consumerism that used to matter much more than it does now. It's long been a standard for all the reporters who trek to Las Vegas to point out that the best products don't get announced there, Palm pre-accepted. That it's a depressing slog, and that all the claims about being the place where the future is first shown are bombast at best. I think MWC probably covers that today, but I still enjoyed the 2 times I've gone. All true, and we never shied away from those realities in our coverage, but neither did we just dismiss it all as meaningless. We took and still take the impact of technology products seriously. One of the things I love making in this vein seems jokey, but I meant it quite seriously. In the waning days of CES 2015, we shot a video recontextualization, that's a tough one, but I got it, of a classic Walter Benjamin essay about how technology was changing art, but set in the age of gadgets. And obviously, CES was a great moment to work in person with our growing team and to see each other doing great work under intense pressure in strange conditions. People would sometimes ask me how we managed to be first to a story or how we produced a great video. And I always had a hard time answering because the answer was so simple. We just combined planning and organization with a team that understood how to collaborate, worked at a high level, and cared deeply about getting it right for our audience. Simple. Although it's been a minute since I've directly managed anyone here, one thing I'm proud of is that culture of actually giving shit while constantly trying to improve the way the shit gets made. Of course, you all know I don't like saying those kinds of words, but that's just me. There's a long-running joke from back when tech keynotes happened in person that I was always the very first journalist in line. I often was, and I took all the ribbing gladly because it didn't matter as much as the real reason I always showed up so early. Was it because I always earnestly believed those events to be important? Sometimes, but mostly it was that I wanted to make sure I was doing everything I possibly could not to let our team nor our audience down. I think that's a great attitude. Anyway, I'm not going to read this entire article, but I just thought he wrote a great article, and just the fact that somebody that so many of us know, like Dieter Bond, was leaving, deserves some coverage. So I just want to include that story. So let's stop screen here and move on to the next story. And this is the story about the M1 Ultra chip. I just thought it was a big enough deal to deserve its own, and CNET put a story out that I gladly grabbed. So this is on CNET. Apple's M1 Ultra shows the future of computer chips. Packaging chip elements together cleverly extends progress even as chip makers struggle to maintain the pace of Moore's law. And that's what it looks like. It's basically two chips put together, but in a way that makes it act like one super chip, which I think is pretty awesome. I think they did a great job there. Let me go into reader view. Okay. If you want a glimpse of where the processor business is headed, check out Apple's new M1 Ultra processor. To deliver speed and performance, the consumer electronics giant married two of its older M1 Max chips using advancements in a once humble aspect of chip making called packaging. I had never heard of that term. Packaging no longer just provides a protective housing, but now also offers cutting-edge communication links. By combining the two chips, Apple's M1 Ultra delivers a stunning 114 billion transistors that make up 20 processing cores and 64 graphics cores. That is mind-blowing to me. By comparison, AMD Ryzen desktop processors use something like a tenth that number of transistors. And I'm showing you all this from an AMD Ryzen laptop. The M1 Ultra highlights the progress chip makers have achieved in keeping Moore's law alive. A dictum in the chip industry, Moore's law predicts that the number of transistors on chips doubles every 2 years. Transistors, the basic circuit elements that process data, have been harder to miniaturize, which has slowed the progress initially charted by chip pioneer and Intel co-founder Gordon Moore. Advanced packaging offers a new way to bump up those transistor counts. Apple isn't the only company working on advanced packaging technology to link chips together. Intel, AMD, and NVIDIA also have technology to combine multiple chip elements called dies or chiplets into a single large processor. The M1 Ultra is arguably the most advanced example of the concept so far, but it won't be the last. You'll see it in mainstream PCs over time, said Tech Insights analyst Lily Wenap, I think. Not just the Mac Studio systems costing $4,000 and up. Packaging has been around for as long as chips have been. Initially, it involved the housing to protect a processor and provide it with the electrical links to memory, communications, and other elements of a computer. Over the years, it's gotten more and more complex. Now chip makers see advanced packaging as a crucial element in sustaining computing progress. Well, if the Ultra is any example, I have to say that's true. Fine lines in these Intel Meteor Lake test chips show how multiple chiplets make up the whole processor. Here, I guess. Apple's Ultra Fusion, the name of its packaging technology, uses a narrow silicon slice called an interposer that resides beneath the two M1 Max chips, linking them with 10,000 wires that can carry 2.5 terabytes of data per second. That's a lot of data over a very short distance. That enormous speed is necessary so chip cores on one die can reach memories that's connected to the other. Graphics processing units in particular have an insatiable appetite for data stored in memory. Interposers historically have been large and expensive. Apple's custom approach involves a narrower slice that only traverses the connecting edges of the M1 Max chip. I just think they did an awesome job there. Intel has developed a similar packaging technology, which it calls embedded multi-die interconnect bridge. Intel hasn't used EMIB in any chips that are on the market yet, but expects to begin selling one, a high-end server chip codenamed Sapphire Rapids, later this year. Sapphire Rapids will use EMIB to link 4 chips, well, 4 now, and 4 big memory modules. I can imagine the power and speed that's going to have, assuming it works right. UltraFusion's more expensive, densely packed wires lets Apple send data from one die to another roughly twice as fast as Intel does with Sapphire Rapids, said Real World Technologies analyst David Cantor. Stay up to date on the latest news reviews, blah, blah. Okay. Advanced packaging doesn't solve every problem. At twice the size of an M1 Max, the M1 Ultra consumes about twice the power and throws off twice the waste heat, a big design constraint for computers. Don't expect to see it in laptops. I guess that's why I think they have 2 fans in the new one, so that would make sense. Mix and match chiplet assembly is unusual today, but it'll become more ordinary. An alliance of almost all the world's top chip makers should make it easier by developing standardized interface chiplets used to talk to each other. Apple's M1 Ultra is only one instance of new packaging methods. Larger interposers have been used for years, in particular by a very flexible but very expensive type of chip called an FPGA. More recently, it's taking steps towards the mainstream. Intel's Sapphire Rapids chip, the next-gen Xenon model for the thousands of servers that pack data centers from companies like Google and Facebook, will include a model with 4 chips married into one. Its chiplets are connected with EMIB, which, like interposers, is a packaging approach called 2.5D, since it's a step beyond the purely 2-dimensional packaging used before. Anyway, I just thought they did an awesome job with that, and these power and speed that they can put out is just amazing to me. Okay. So go on to the next story. And of course, last week we talked about the throttling issue Samsung is doing on the S22 phones. And people got very upset. As a matter of fact, there's a Korean government agency investigating them just for that. Oh, Renz, thank you as always, sir. Always very generous, and I appreciate it very much. So he's having a busy Saturday. Happy weekend and stay safe. All right, because Renz is at work, and he's an important guy in his job. It's obvious. Okay. So next story. Addressing Samsung's throttling. Well, they're addressing it. So this was on Android Authority. Samsung starts rolling out GOS update for the Galaxy S22 series. The update is currently rolling out in Samsung's home market, so it's only in South Korea right now. So let me go to read a view. Okay. Samsung has started rolling out an update addressing the GOS throttling issue on the Galaxy S22 series. The update is only available in South Korea for now. It introduces a new game performance management mode to phones. According to multiple posts on Samsung's Korean community forum, the update addressing the game optimizing service, that's the GOS, rolled out to the Galaxy S22 phones in the region today. The machine-translated changelog suggests that Samsung is releasing the CPU-GPU performance limits while running games. The update will also help maintain the temperature of the phones with GOS disabled. That's good. Additionally, it introduces a new game performance management mode in Game Booster. You can see the complete changelog below. Note that this is a version translated from Korean to English, so the meaning is not as clear as we would have liked it to be. So it shows you restore, blah, blah, blah. Here's the features. Release CPU, GPU, initial performance running a game. So I guess that was one of the major changes. Maintain control behavior according to device temperature. Provide game performance management mode in Game Booster. Apply bypass, that's got to be the translation stuff. Bypass GOS off unblocked external apps. Stabilization code related to camera. Application of stabilization code related to device operation. Application of stabilization code related to device security. There's no word on when the update will roll out for other regions. However, Samsung has promised it's coming, so it shouldn't be too long now. Now, I'm not much of a gamer, so I don't think it would even affect me if they're throttling. The only game I play much is Asphalt 9. But anyway, so people were very upset about the throttling, so just wanted to point out that they are doing something about it. So the next story is also Samsung. Of course, like everybody else in the world, it was Samsung's turn to get hacked. Luckily, none of us consumers are affected. And this is on Engadget. This was 4 days ago. Samsung confirms hackers compromised its systems and stole Galaxy source code. That's heavy duty. South American hacking group Lapsus claimed responsibility last week. And that was by M. Bryan. So let's go into read review, get rid of some of these ads. Samsung confirmed Monday that some of its data was stolen as part of a cyber attack that was first reported over the weekend. In a statement to Bloomberg, the Korean electronics giant revealed that a security breach saw some source code relating to the operation of Galaxy devices taken, but customer and employee credentials were not impacted, thank God. So this seems to have only affected Samsung's internal working, nobody else. Although Samsung has not revealed the actors behind the compromise, South American hacking group Lapsus has claimed responsibility. The organization shared a 190 gigabyte torrent file that reportedly includes bootloader source code for all of Samsung's recent devices, as well as code related to the biometric authentication and on-device encryption for Galaxy phones and tablets. Attackers may have also gained access to confidential data related to Qualcomm. I'm sure Qualcomm must love that. The admission comes less than a week after the same group said it obtained around a terabyte of data, including schematics and source code from chip giant NVIDIA. The company said it became aware of the attack on February 23rd, after which time Lapsus had demanded a ransom paid in cryptocurrency to prevent NVIDIA's fraud. NVIDIA failed to respond. Source code for the company's DLSS technology and information related to as many as 6 unannounced graphic cards was shared online. So I guess if you don't pay them, they're going to do what they say they're going to do. Currently, we do not anticipate any impact to our business customers. This is from Samsung. We have implemented measures to prevent further such incidents and will continue to serve our customers without disruption. Samsung later confirmed in its statement, it is not known whether Lapsus issued the same cryptocurrency demands to Samsung, but we've contacted the company for clarification. So, seems like everybody gets at least 1 or 2 turns at being hacked, but at least this time no consumer data was taken, and I guess that's a good thing. So, I'm watching the comments for anybody. And if any of the guys comes in, of course, I'll bring them in, and this will be a little bit longer live stream, but with just me, of course, it's going to be a short one. Okay, next one, we're going back to Carl Pei's company. I'm kind of excited about this. Okay, share the screen. Okay. This is on Tom's Guide again. The Nothing phone could launch March 23rd. Everything we know. So we're talking a week and a half from now. Nothing will hold an online event March 23rd, which could reveal more about its rumored phone. And there's Carl Pei when he was still at OnePlus, obviously. I'm a great admirer of Carl Pei, so just so you know. Okay, going into reader view. The Nothing phone could be coming soon. A countdown clock on the website for Call Pays Nothing company suggests we'll be getting some news on March 23rd. Find out what's coming up in 2022. Read the teaser on Nothing's website. Pei, as you likely know, is the co-founder of phone maker OnePlus, who left that company in 2020 and formed his own startup called Nothing. Last year, Nothing launched its very first product, a pair of wireless earbuds called the Nothing Ear One, which with hints that more consumer tech products were on the way. We're going to find out just what those products are during Nothing's March 23rd streaming event, dubbed The Truth. Wow. The event promises to lay out Nothing's product roadmap when it gets underway at 2 p.m. GMT, Greenwich Mean Time. So that should be 10 a.m. Pacific time, which means it'll be 1 p.m. my time. So I'll be off that day, and I should be able to see the event live. Since daylight saving time will have kicked in for the U.S. by then. Many observers seem to believe that a new phone will head the list of Nothing's products. Reports of an upcoming device surfaced last week, and I gave you that story last week, when TechCrunch reported that a Nothing phone would launch by the end of March. That same report claimed that Pei had already shown a prototype to key executive. Yeah, I gather that was at MWC in Barcelona. In February, Pei had also tweeted that he was back on Android, which observers took as a hint that a phone was in development. Another sign that Nothing could unveil a smartphone very soon, the countdown clock on the company's website includes a Snapdragon logo. While Qualcomm makes Snapdragon chipsets for all sorts of devices, it's commonly regarded as the mobile chip of choice for Android phones. That would make sense. Very few specs have emerged about the rumored Nothing phone, with TechCrunch only reporting that the design would take its cues from the Nothing Ear One earbuds. Those earbuds are pretty distinctive looking, with plastic see-through stems and clearly visible touch sensors, but we're not sure how that look translates to phone design. The timing of Nothing's rumored launch event is interesting, given that Pei's former company, OnePlus, is expected to launch the OnePlus 10 Pro in more markets around the globe by the end of March. Now, is he intentionally directly competing with them? Who knows? That device, a camera-focused flagship that aims to take on the Samsung Galaxy S22 for top spot among the best Android phones, first launched in China in January. Depending on when and if Nothing starts shipping its rumored smartphone, it could find itself competing with OnePlus for the sliver of the smartphone market that Samsung and Apple don't already control. That smartphone duopoly makes it hard for rival phones to make much of a splash, as OnePlus, Motorola, Google, and others find themselves trying to stand out from the crowd. You'd imagine that a company like Nothing, that has never released a phone before, will have an even harder time commanding attention. So if Nothing has a phone in the works, the pressure will be on to distinguish its new device from what's already out there, particularly the Galaxy S22 launch, still fresh in people's minds. We hope to find out more about what to expect from Nothing between now and the March 23rd online event. So I'm kind of excited about that. Oh, Brian's in here. He says, "What's up? Glad to have you, brother, as always." You got held up by work. Yeah, Renz is busy at work too. Okay. And you're always very faithful about the replay. And thank you as always, brother. Much appreciated. Okay. So that's the Nothing phone. I'm pretty excited about that phone. I hope it turns out to be a good one and it's not expensive, but we'll see. Okay. This I just thought was an interesting story, and I'm guessing that they're probably right. So let's share screen. Okay. And this is on The Verge again. Google CTO of Android tablets sees tablet sales passing laptops in the not too distant future. And I'm thinking that might be true. Android 12L is building for a tablet-filled future. Yeah, I just got a tablet a couple of weeks. I got the Microsoft Surface Pro 8, which I love. And if any of you click on the story, this video is pretty interesting. After seemingly forgetting that Android, let's go into read a review first so we can get rid of some of these ads. Okay. And this is by Richard Lawler. After seemingly forgetting that Android tablets existed for a while, Google is suddenly very invested in the market. Android 12L is in development to support larger screen devices, and one of the platform's co-founders, Rich Miner, has rejoined the team with the title CTO of Android tablets. Now, speaking to developers during an episode of Google's The Android Show, Miner explained the opportunity the company is seeing via 9 to 5 Google. Miner references the introduction of Android tablets in 2011 and how apps like media players scaled to fit them easily without much investment. But then growth kind of stagnated. Yeah, you can say that again. Now, he cites data showing growth took off pre-COVID in late 2019 and has continued to rise. That's true. With more keyboard peripherals and developments in software and hardware by third-party manufacturers to make them better tools to create instead of consuming. The other reason he cites is that tablets can be very capable, mine is, less expensive, mine isn't, than a laptop. That spurred Google's work on Android 12L to optimize its system UI for use on bigger devices, as well as the way it formats apps to fit on big screens. Okay. So Android L displays notifications and settings side by side to take advantage of. So it looks like a gigantic phone, basically. Miner is making the pitch for developers to look at their apps and consider taking advantage of the tools Google's building to improve tablet support, or even building apps that approach the market as a tablet-first experience. He points to 2020 sales data where tablet purchases actually started to approach the number of laptop shipments. I actually think there's going to be a crossover point at some point in the not too distant future where there are more tablets sold annually than there are laptops. I think once you cross over that point, you're not going to be coming back. I think I agree with him. We'll need to see more action before we can believe Google's new tablet push will avoid the trap of stagnation. With increased support for developers and new apps that make us want to pick up tablets again. Come through on that front and we'll be ready if a bigger and possibly foldable Pixel is in the works. Yeah, because Samsung's new tablet, the Microsoft Surface tablets, and of course I have my iPad Pro, they're very popular and getting more so each day, I think. So stop screen here, nothing new in the comments. Let me get a quick sip. Yes, you can see right through my glass because it's green and I have a green screen behind me. Now, this is my last story, and this was from Kim Commando, but I thought it was something people should know, so I included it in. And this was on commando.com, of course. I'm going to share screen. Okay. Look. Okay, what to do when you get a text with a verification code you didn't request. And I've gotten some of those, and my guess is we're probably going to be seeing more of those. I just thought I should put the story out there. Going to read a view. This is by Serena O'Sullivan. Our content marketing queen, Allie, gets text with her Uber sign-in code now and then. The problem, she's not trying to get into her Uber account, someone else's. She ignores them because she's well versed in smishing, phishing, and other criminal schemes. I've never heard of smishing before. Tap or click here below for a crash course. But of course, not all texts with verification codes are fraudulent. Well, that's true. Sometimes you might get a verification code for good reason. Yeah, I get them all the time from Google, and I got from Samsung today, and from Microsoft, and I think we all do. At least all of us who are techies, basically. The problem is, it's hard to distinguish between scams and important text. That's why we put together this guide that will help you learn what to do when you get a random text with a verification code. Always be cautious. In general, take it as a sign to be more vigilant. An unrequested verification code is a giant neon sign saying someone is trying to sign into your account. That means your username and password could be compromised. And I think a good rule of thumb to follow is if you haven't, like I just signed on with my Galaxy S22 Plus for the first time tonight. Well, right away, Samsung sent me a text. Are you trying to sign in? Well, yes, I was. So if you haven't done something like that, then it's probably a phony, is my guess. Thus, it's time to log into your account and change your password. Make sure you're coming up with something strong and unique. This could also signify that your account details were linked in a data breach. These aren't nearly as rare as they should be. Criminals constantly launch coordinated attacks on organizations that have your private details, from businesses to hospitals. So it's a good idea to check your cybersecurity databases now and then. They're super easy to use. Just enter your email address or phone number, and you'll see if your private details are public property. Some accounts are much more critical than others, of course. A verification code from your Netflix account isn't as dangerous as one from your bank. And I think banks are one of the big ones they go after. If you're getting an alert from your bank, call it up and check to see if anyone has access to your account. Yes, one of my coworkers had some kind of text from the bank last week, and she ended up calling the bank. Well, it wasn't from the bank. So that does happen. It's best to nip any potential financial issues in the bud ASAP. Otherwise, you could deal with a drained bank account, a ruined credit score, and a stolen identity. Take the extra time to reach out to your bank. Don't reply to the text directly. Instead, look up the website location and call the official number. Yeah, and that's what my coworker did. She called and the bank said, "We didn't send you anything." So that's when she knew. You may not need to take this extra step for most texts you get, though. This is just the case for banks, since they have highly sensitive information. For most accounts, you can just ignore the text once you're sure the account is protected. Yeah, that's what I do when I get those occasional weird ones. If you're getting a verification code from an account that records logins or devices like streaming services that show all connected devices, it's worth checking that nothing strange is happening in your account. If you aren't careful, you might even lose your account. Yeah, I think we did a story a few weeks ago where people were getting their accounts stolen in banks in Europe. A few things to keep in mind. Remember, if you get a verification code you didn't request, that means your account could be in danger. We recommend changing your password to something more robust. However, maybe your account is fine. Maybe a username and password is still secure, but a cyber criminal is trying to rattle you. It's a common tactic in smishing or text messaging scams. Okay. Bad guys will send you texts with verification codes or suspicious links. Yeah, never tap on those. Trying to make you click them. The websites you're taken to infect your device with malware. You'll rarely get random text messages or emails with links you didn't ask for. Right, and that's what I say. You know, you have to do something to initiate them wanting to send that to you. So if you haven't, then be suspicious. That's why you should be cautious. Instead of clicking on the link, reach out to the official organization and see if the messages were legitimate. Yeah, like go to their website, or I could call them. It's an extra step, but the effort is well worth it. If you don't follow proper precautions, you could lose a ton of money. AARP said cons that started with text messages stole $86 million from Americans in 2020. Notice it's AARP because they like to pick on us old folks because they think we don't know anything about tech. And generally, they're right. If you get a recovery code you weren't expecting, that's right. That could mean someone made an account with your email. Some people have no scruples, so they'll use your contact information to sign up for new accounts. Scroll through Twitter and you might stumble upon a few people grumbling about TikTok confirmation codes. Even though they never signed up or don't recall making an account, they get codes like this. This could very well be a phishing scam. It could also be something way less nefarious. Sometimes kids who aren't given proper digital education think it's okay to use random numbers or emails when creating accounts. These random email addresses or numbers could be your phone number or email address. Few children understand two-factor authentication. When they try to sign into their new account, the site's confirmation code goes straight to you. That's good. If you keep getting verification codes for accounts you never created, go to the site, change the password, and shut the account down. Otherwise, you may have to deal with endless notifications. So, good advice, and I just thought somebody may need to hear it. So, I may chop out this piece of the live stream and put it out there separately just so other people can see it. Because the last time I did that, everybody was grateful. So that's our last story. So we will go on to our usual glowing rectangles. Hey, by myself, sometimes I don't make it past 9, so I'm doing okay. Okay, I'm going to share screen, and this we show every week just so people can get themselves or somebody else more exposure. So this is on reddit.com. Let me get my stuff out of the way for a second. Okay, so if you go to reddit.com/r/glowing rectangles, it's a place where you can post videos, blogs, yours, somebody else's, for yourself or anybody you think should get more people could get some more exposure. And this was started by some gadget guy, Juan Bagnell, specifically to help us all get more exposure, which is great. So every day, there are new posts and vlogs and videos out there. If you click on top, you can upvote and downvote on each one, okay? And top will show you what got the most votes so far today. Now, there's Juan's. His vote, he got 9 upvotes today. And phone versus camera 2022, they find them. I watched about half of that video so far, and then I was at work and I didn't have time to go through the rest. But Juan knows his stuff, and he's extremely knowledgeable and very helpful. So that would probably be a very good one to watch. So anyway, he's the top vote getter for today. Second one is always a commercial. And so he has 9 upvotes. This one has 3 upvotes. Never Worry About Packaging by Jabber Tech 12. And the next one has 2 upvotes, unboxing the world's first MediaTek Copanio 828 Chromebook. Didn't know there was one. So anyway, if you want to get more exposure or want somebody else to get more exposure, put their video or their blog post up here, and at least more people will see it. So that's, once again, reddit.com/r/glowing rectangles. All right, I'm going to stop screen. I'm going to put my stuff back the way it was. Okay. So that's it for tonight, folks. I'm glad for everybody that came in. And as always, Renz and Brian, thank you for the contributions. You know it's going to a good cause. Like this. Anybody who didn't see, this is the Galaxy S22 Plus. Just got it a little while ago. And hopefully, if I can avoid the snow, I'll get up at least some pictures and video out this weekend. And of course, you'll be seeing comparisons with my other 2 Samsung phones, with the Pixel 6 Pro, with the iPhone 12 Pro, and others. So that's what it'll be in the coming weeks. In addition, I'm going to try to do a little bit more coverage on my Microsoft Surface Pro 8, just to let you guys know how I'm doing with it. So, as always, thanks for coming in. Thankful for everybody that watched, and especially those who made comments. And I hope everybody has a very blessed weekend. And if you're like us, stay warm. And I will see you all next Friday night. Good night, folks.